Right. So you kind of touched on a couple things I was going to ask you already, but I want to go back to them.
Yeah.
Every homeowner is a good candidate. We talked about that. That depends on age, what's
Every
going
home,
on.
every home is different,
Right.
And it depends
Every
on your
home is
long-term plan. If you're going to be there forever, then maybe it's good. If you have a high electric bill, then maybe it's good.
Right. Okay.
Then it depends how much they're going to sell it to you for.
Now, I guess we can connect those two together. Is every home a good candidate for solar?
No. So with solar, you have obviously the roof and the electrical. So we're in California, so
Right.
I'll speak about just California, and the Sun Belt in the U.S. Right. So this is SoCal, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. These Sun Belt states. Generally speaking, you want to face the panels towards the sun. Here, that's south. Right? If you're in the southern hemisphere, that's north.
Mm-hmm.
So here, that's south. And not every house has a southern-facing roof. But the way the sun moves, it rises in the east, is overhead. South is perfectly facing the sun, and then it sets in the west. It is never in the north. Please listen to me. The sun is never in the north. So it drives me crazy. Sometimes I see panels on the north side of the house.
I have a good rebuttal to that.
So the way you would prioritize it is south facing, then west facing,
Right.
then east facing,
Right.
and if you're really, really, really gung ho about solar and you want to save the planet, then north facing. The south is, let's say it's 100%. The west, compared to the south, is about 97% of the amount of electricity you get, and then the east is about 95%. The north is about 60%.
I see.
So not every house. So you have to have the roof space. If you have a bunch of vents and plumbing vents and dormers on your roof that's taking up that south, try to do the best that you can to remove those, replumb them, move them out the way to face south. Solar panels need the sun.
Yeah. Let me tell you this story. You might have caught this on the news. This was on the news probably 6 months ago. A woman had solar installed, and she was in a winter climate area where they had a lot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
And she never got any benefit from her bill. It was all she just.
What did they do?
She just was complaining to everybody. She kept calling the company back that installed them, and they kept blowing her off until she went to the news channel.
Yeah.
And got some local attention on that company. And so that company finally responded. But so the news got involved, and that's why it was on the news, because she went to them. And turns out,
like Detroit or something.
it looked like a mountain type area. It looked like a real off the grid type place. But anyway, they put the panels on the wrong side of the house,
dude. Oh, they had their plans upside down.
They literally put them on the wrong side of the house, so she wasn't getting no benefit from it whatsoever.
Yeah,
and they finally came back only because she went public with it. And they finally came back and they spun them around and put them where they're supposed to be.
I've seen so many stories like that.
People just get taken advantage of, man.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. Look, hang on real quick. I want to reiterate to everybody listening, because I've said this so many times on previous podcasts. If you are going to hire someone, you have got to stop listening to your neighbor only.
Right.
Get a referral from your neighbor. That's great, but do your own due diligence.
I always tell homeowners to get 3 quotes.
Yes.
At least.
Always.
If at the bare minimum, listen, interviewing people is a pain in the ass, and then you get emotionally attached to someone.
Yeah.
So the 3 is a minimum, but I know some people that get like 5 bids.
Sure.
Sure. And you get a little bit of
it's going to give you a nice ballpark of where you need
get
to be.
a little bit of the truth from every person, and then you kind of stitch it together. And you filter out the BS and what's true.
I felt sorry for the last guy you called, because now you're educated, and then you got to put him through the ringer. Holy shit, this motherfucker.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah, you got to do that. So I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah,
and that's why people get fooled, because they want to believe. Like my mom is a great example of this.
Sure.
My mom always sees the good in people.
Yeah.
Always. She thinks everyone is going to do the right thing.
You're the cynic in the family.
I'm big time, dude. I'm like, Ma. What that person says and what they do are two different things. And I live by your actions speak louder than your words.
Does she get solar?
No.
No. You didn't let her?
She Yeah, we never talked about that.
No.
I don't think it was necessary at her house. No.
Does she live around here?
No, she's in Massachusetts.
Okay. So maybe not so much door knocking. There's so much door knocking in California.
Yeah, I had to kick a guy off my porch the other day trying to tell me that his trucks were in the area to do spraying houses for insects. I'm like, where's your truck?
No,
I don't see no truck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right around. Dude, get out of here.
Get out of here. Yeah. Just be true.
Snake
oil,
dude.
Yeah,
Snake oil. Young kid talking about 90 miles an hour.
Yeah. So where were we? What
all right. So we were talking about solar. We're talking about a good home.
A good home.
Yeah.
So I said every house. So solar panels need the sun, right?
Really? I'm glad we're talking to you.
I've seen systems underneath trees.
Sure.
John, it makes me want to cry as a solar expert. I'm like, dude, like what's... First of all, the level of failure and just thievery through the whole organization. Now, mind you, even the installers. As an installer myself, I would just refuse to put it underneath the tree.
Right, because you have to sleep
I'm
at
like,
night.
Listen, bro.
Yeah.
This is not going to work for this little old lady Gladys, in Pacoima. Bro, what are you doing here? Why? So money
and greed.
It's a lot of money, and the homeowners don't know any better.
And that's why we're here, man, because I really wanted to talk about this.
Yeah. So the homeowners don't know. So you need, as far as the house, you need the good roof position. Okay. That's the first thing. You can't put solar everywhere. There are some firefighter setback rules.
3 feet, right?
3 feet, generally speaking, from the eave, not count from the wall though. Because how you have overhang?
Yeah, something that could be 6 inches to 24 inches. Yeah.
That doesn't count. So you rule that out, and then 3 feet from the load-bearing wall.
Got it.
Where the stucco starts, and is your fire clearance, and then you can put panels.
Right.
And then from the ridge, from the top of your roof, from the peak, if you're going to put solar on both sides of the peak, it's 36 inches as well. If you're just going to put it on one side, then it's only 18 inches.
Okay.
Because theoretically, the firefighters have the other roof to walk on free and clear.
Right.
So your contractor should know all about all that. And the inspector, that's one of the things he checks, right?
Right.
So you want to make sure your roof is good and it has got no shading and it's facing the right direction. Mm-hmm. And it's the electrical, right? Because you're pumping electricity to your home.
And that's something I really want to break down today, too.
Yeah.
The electrical part.
So a lot of houses in Los Angeles have 100 amp panels that are really shitty. Count on having to do a main panel upgrade
to a 200
amp.
Right.
Now if you go to the Inland Empire, more track homes, more modern homes, they're already 200 amps. Right. So you won't really have that issue out there. It's
pretty standard on any new house nowadays.
Any new house is about 200.
They got to be solar ready, right? Don't they have to be solar ready in California?
They don't have to be solar ready. There are new panels that are being sold at Home Depot and electrical suppliers that are solar ready panels that make it easier for the installer, not only to install them, but to put solar on them.
That means it just has an additional slot for additional breaker at the top?
You know what? It means different things for different distributors.
Oh, okay.
And there's a real technical term. It's 120% NEC rule. The homeowner doesn't need to know about that. The electricians already know about that. The solar ready panel just allows you to comply with that rule a lot easier and oversize the system compared to a traditional 200 amp panel.
It's 225, right?
It's a 225 bus with a 200 amp main, which is better than in the industry. We say the standard house is a 200. A solar ready panel is 225,
right?
Which is the difference of 30 panels being allowed on the house and the electrical panel tied into that, or 50 panels.
Oh, wow.
So that's what solar ready is. It just makes it easy. Yeah, it's a big
jump.
So
that's good for a big house.
It's good for a big house. Like my house, it's good for that.
What was it? It's like 2,500 square feet?
All in all, it's 22.
All
yeah, because I have 18 and a half in the front, the guest house.
Right.
And then if you were to factor in the well pump that's always running and all the other stuff that we want, it's going to be.
Now, using your house as an example, because you had that detached garage with the ADU on top.
That's right.
If you were to put solar on the main house, can you tap into it and put another panel there that'll run through the same system?
So the electric code says you have to have one shutoff point for the whole solar system on the property. If you make an ADU with a separate utility meter, you have to have 2 separate solar systems. If you have an ADU that's tied into the house, then at the main house, there needs to be a breaker that shuts off the system on both.
Okay.
Why this is important is because a lot of people will tie in the main house goes to the main panel, and then the guest house or the ADU has a sub panel that feeds to the main.
Correct.
And you have a solar system. So when a maintenance guy comes over and shuts off the solar on your main house, he's not going to realize that the guest house is still pumping power back. Right? And
Safety issue.
Safety issue, yeah.
Yeah, the old days, then when they put panels in, like a sub panel, there was no shut off. There was no main disconnect on that sub. Nowadays, a lot of new subs have the main disconnect nowadays.
You have to disconnect that.
Right, right. So that's a good point, because a lot of people, if they're not that familiar with, if you're a homeowner and you think you're the best DIYer on the street,
right,
and you don't know that, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
You know?
So most systems now, if you have a solar system on a guest house, you actually will find, and this goes out to all the inspectors, you'll chase the piping from the solar panels down, and generally they don't go to the sub panel on the guest house. They go into the dirt and they trench back to the main panel to a combiner panel, combining it with the main house solar.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's a solar panel on an ADU that's running off the main house power, it's not gonna. You're not gonna see it piped into the. You're not gonna see it piped into the panel itself. Piping is gonna go. I mean, the piped into the sub panel.
Yeah,
it's gonna be piped underground and go back to the main house.
That's right. It'll be from an EMT metal conduit, go into a plastic conduit underground, and then go to the main. I say 99% of the systems.
Okay.
Nowadays, because most inspectors are getting used to the solar, they'll actually, if you do a special plan check with the city.
You mean me? I'm not getting used to solar.
If you do a special plan check with the city, they'll actually let you tap into the sub panel if it's a microinverter system. So I say, as of today, maybe that rule is changing, but what you're going to be inspecting, what you're going to be buying, as of right now, the systems from a couple of years ago, you're going to see that pipe in the ground.
All right. So as a home inspector, we don't touch solar. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Yeah. So, well, you don't touch much of anything.
I don't inspect. No, I look at a lot of stuff. But when it comes to electrical and solar, I look at the main house panel, and of course, there's going to be a thing that says, "Don't touch this."
The red sticker.
Yeah, don't touch this. So anyway, I don't touch anything going out of that main panel to the solar. I don't pull covers off.
So what do you do?
I disclaim. I check to make sure you have a toilet plunger by your toilet. That's my main job.
Yeah, that your shit gets out where it needs to go. No, so that's interesting. So we're
visual, and let me explain it. If you don't,
you're CREIA. Okay, what is CREIA?
California Real Estate Inspection Association.
Right, which you were the president of?
I was a president of a local chapter for a while,
okay,
and then I was a vice president of that same chapter.
Okay,
and so it's just something we all go through as we join and stuff like that.
So what do you got? Go ahead and tell me.
So a general home inspector performs a visual inspection. So whatever we can reach safely, access safely, we're going to look at and report on. The best house to inspect is a vacant home with all the power and utilities on.
Like mine, right?
Right. That's the best way to go, because we can see all of the walls. We can see inside all the closets. We can see what needs to be seen. That's the biggest problems at homes are places that are hidden behind furniture and stuff like that. So water damage mostly comes up the way. So general home inspectors are doing a visual inspection on the 5 major systems, which is roofing, foundation, heating and cooling, plumbing, and electrical.
Okay.
That's our main thing, because that's the main bones of a house right there. So that's what we're looking at. Of course, in between all those systems, there's going to be a bathroom. That's going to have plumbing, which is part of one of our systems we check. Faucets, fixtures, we're looking at all that. We're going to see if you get, adequate functional flow at the faucet. So example, I turn on your left sink, and then I turn on the tub, and the left sink just goes dead. So the faucet goes dead. That's non-functional flow. So we're looking for stuff like that too.
Gotcha.
So
normally, I see as a regular human
person, consumer,
I wouldn't. Who turns on the sink and the tub at the same time, right?
Right. You're not going to know that.
When you're buying a house, you're not really doing that kind of shit, right?
No.
But that's what you do.
No. But a really good plumbing inspector, like there's plumbing companies out there that do really thorough plumbing inspections. They're going to do all that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you
know,
just
it's
have
funny,
your dad
I
come
just-
through, he's not going to know
No,
that.
he's not going to do that. Yeah.
No.
I remember the once they did a test at Dodger Stadium where they had to flush all the toilets at the same time to make sure they all worked, right?
All the shit went down.
Because theoretically that could happen.
Sure.
Right.
Everybody flushed at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then
Right.
What a stinky mess that was.
So that's plumbing is one of the 5 systems.
Right, electrical. So I use the 3-prong testers, stuff like that, just to make sure they're not
The outlets
wired
work.
backwards, just to make sure they're working. I'm generally just checking to see if all the outlets in the room are working.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're switched on a wall switch. I'm just trying to see what's what.
Yeah. Where did that
See
go?
where does that go? If I see junction boxes everywhere with missing covers, it's just kind of raises my concern.
Yeah.
Raises my concern a little bit. Okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I'm looking in the attic for faulty wiring, which is, once again, spaghetti boxes full of, junction boxes with wires sticking out like this everywhere.
Right.
Not good if you have a rat problem.
Right.
They decide to chew on that. They can cause a fire.
Which they will.
Yeah. So it's just, like I said, visual is the key word. It's a visual inspection.
And so as far as, because we're talking about solar, so as far as electrical, how far do you go with the electrical? Like in the main panel, breakers?
Right. I'm gonna pull the cover off the main panel as long as it's not a Stab Lock brand or a Zinsco. I don't pull covers off those because I've had breakers fall off.
Dude, they're so shitty.
Yeah.
So for any homeowner out there, I personally will tell you that if you have a Zinsco, that's Zinsco,
Yep.
Zinsco, or what's the other one?
GTE Sylvania.
Sylvania.
It's all the same with Zinsco.
It's a sister company, Sylvania, and
they all
Zinsco.
got bought by one. They all got bought out by those companies.
Or we call them a bulldog stab lock.
Bulldog Pushmatic.
Pushmatic.
That's different.
Right. That's
and
right.
Then the Federal Pacific Stab Lock.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any of those that we just mentioned, Federal Pacific, all these replace your panel immediately. So a lot of these,
you can't put solar on that.
you can.
But you wouldn't.
Well, I've put solar on Zinsco panels because Home Depot still sells those Zinsco breakers. Right.
Wow.
So I've had a general contractor sub me out and say, "Hey, we're gonna put solar on this." I'm like, "Hey, why don't you just sell the person a new main panel upgrade?" Well, they don't have the money for it. I'm like, "Did you tell them that it's a fire hazard?"
No, I left that out.
Shut up and just put the panels on the roof. And I feel so bad.
Wow.
This is back when, maybe 2016, 2017.
I hope you have a disclaimer for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any homeowner, it's like, hey, listen, when we come out and service and inspect, the first thing, you have a Zinsco panel and you shouldn't have that anymore. And then I send them all these articles and websites that say these are fire hazards, right? They just kind of poof, go up in flames.
Yeah, the breakers are known to be on when they're off, and vice versa.
Right, yeah.
So
you'll take off the covers off of any panel except those.
Right. I won't pull covers off those two. Bulldog Pushmatic, those are easy to take off because they don't typically have a breaker falling off issue that I'm aware of.
Yeah, they can.
So I can pull those off. And when you look inside there, it looks like prehistoric wiring.
Right.
So if you have a Bulldog Pushmatic, just get rid of it.
Yeah,
it's not even time for an upgrade. That's
it's
all
like
it is.
what was it like? It was like a cotton, you ever seen those cotton wires? Or it's like a cloth
coated.
Cloth
I
coated.
see it almost every day, man.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what the
Especially
hell?
when I'm in LA. It's like
cloth coated wiring.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm looking at electrical, you look inside the box and you see all this brand new wiring, right? And then all that wire only goes about 10 feet into the house and hits a junction box.
And then it's
and
spliced.
everything connected to it is all cloth coated.
Yeah.
Cloth
Well,
coated wire.
it's expensive to rewire your entire house, but I think it's well worth it.
Yeah. A lot of people think when you upgrade your panel, they're replacing all your wires.
Nope.
That's not true.
They're
people.
literally just replacing the box that's outside, and then they'll splice or connect together to your old wiring system that goes to your. And a lot of these 1920 homes in LA, they have one breaker that feeds, like 3 rooms, right? So it feeds your kitchen, your bathroom, your living room. So when you turn on the blender and you have an amplifier in your living room, it just pops, right? Yeah, it's not gonna. But they're not gonna replace your whole wiring. That's a whole different thing because they got to rip open stucco. Right.
So what you were just saying is that 125 amp main can be used or cannot
A
for a solar
125
system.
So you can use 100 amp, 125, a 200 for you can use anything, but you have a limitation. So generally speaking, if you can put 10 panels on a 100 amp system, electrical panel, you can put like 20 on a 200 amp.
I see.
So there is a side. That's not an exact amount, but it's
That's
essentially
good to know.
double.
That's good to know. So if you really want to have room to grow later, then upgrade your panel.
And you're better off putting the main panel in at the same time, upgrading your main panel at the same time as the solar, because then you can apply the 30% tax credit to the cost of the main panel. So if you just pay an electrician on a random project,
that's good info.
You pay them $3,000, you've paid $3,000. But if you do it with solar, when you paid that $3,000, you get $1,000 back as a tax credit. That goes for a roof too.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So if you're going to do a roof, might as well slap some panels on there and get 30% back on the roof cost.
That's incentivizing right there.
Now it's starting to make sense, huh?
I am almost a believer.